Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say nice things about ourselves. And we are going to be doing that with my I am cards. These cards are full of positive affirmations. And this being Friday, we're not only going to go through the card for today, but we will also do a quick overview of the week. So I'm so happy to see you guys here. I mean, good morning to Frank, Shauna, Lauren, Janet, Amanda. It is good to see you here today. Let's create a positive space on the internet, and more importantly, let's create a positive space inside of ourselves. Sorry for being a little bit late today. I actually had some slight technical difficulties. Yesterday, somebody was attacking my Facebook profile really hard. Fortunately, I had two-factor authentication enabled. Long story as to why that happened, but basically, like, my Facebook is locked down like nobody's business. But somebody from the Philippines, and then somebody else was trying to access it from Thailand, and they actually had my password. So there's some kind of a password breach somewhere. So I changed my password, but then everything that I was logged into via Facebook, including this software, had logged me out, and so I had to figure out how to log back in real quick and then get myself set up. But I have overcome that challenge, and it is now time to say some nice stuff about us. So I'm working with a digital deck right now because we're working with new cards. But I do in fact have actual physical cards that are available if anybody needs to have something like this in their lives. So let's have some fun today. Let's pull some cards, and let's say that today I am elevated. I am elevated. I ascend toward my highest potential. So I am elevated. I ascend toward my highest potential. Are you elevated? You are elevated. You ascend toward your highest potential. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make that even more real for myself by writing it down. Hearing me say it is one level of understanding. Saying it ourselves is another level of understanding. And writing it down makes it real in the world. So I am elevated, and I ascend toward my highest potential. I'm going to turn on the chat so we can actually see that stuff. There we are. All right. So I am elevated today. You are elevated too. When I look at my friends, one of the core things that we have in common is that each and every one of us is of a growth mindset. You know, there are two different types of mindsets in the world, and I used to have what was called a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is somebody who believes that they know everything, and because we know everything, we don't need to know anything more. We're simply looking for some more confirmation bias about what we already know. And that is a fixed mindset. Our brains are fixed. And as I realized that I had this fixed mindset, which was definitely a mindset shift in and of itself, I was like, wait a minute, if I'm not learning and growing, I'm going to continue to be the same guy. And I don't actually like the guy that I'm being. I like some of the parts of the guy I'm being, but I don't like all the parts of the guy I'm being. And because I didn't like all the parts of the guy I was being, I decided that a growth mindset was definitely more my speed. And I noticed that my friends also have this growth mindset. Like, when I look at the people around me who I love and respect and admire, I recognize that each and every one of them is always trying new things and living life on their own terms, living life differently in ways that are important to them. And so together we are elevated, and we are ascending toward our highest potential. So that's the card for today. So as we go through our Friday, let's be elevated. Let's recognize that we are ascending toward being the ultimate versions of us, and that we would never will achieve that goal. That the day that we become the absolute best version of ourselves is the day that we stop growing. And so, of course, our job, our responsibility here in life is to become the absolute best versions of ourselves. So we are elevated today, and we ascend toward our highest potential. That's who we are. So what I'm going to do now is let's go through the cards for the week, and let's re-explore the cards that we pulled this week, and kind of like look at our own lives, look at the journey that we took, and ask ourselves, how did these cards manifest in our lives this week? So we started off the week with I am peaceful, that I cultivate serenity in my soul. And I felt very peaceful this week. There's some family stuff going on for me. There are some very serious issues that are happening in my life. And even though they're happening, I still feel peace. I still feel serenity. I still feel like everybody in the situation is honored in the situation. And I could be very consternated or very worried, but I'm not worried. I'm not consternated. And I really appreciate my own inner peace. And I sincerely hope that you also have managed to cultivate inner peace, perhaps all week, or perhaps in a situation that at one point would have really bothered you. So the next card that we pulled is the I am capable card. I have the skills to achieve my goals. And the metaphor that I chose was for the puzzle pieces. And in my life, I recognize that skills that I've had, or maybe that they've been long dormant, and skills that I developed a long time ago, come together in really interesting ways. It's like all that stuff, all that knowledge, all those abilities just live inside of my head, and I can pull them out as I need to, and then just find, like, wait a minute, I learned how to do this years ago. I never thought it would be useful, and now here I am using it. An example, I mean, I learned Spanish in third grade. And then I learned it again in high school, and I never paid much attention because I was like, when will I ever use this? And then I lived in Central America for 7 years. God's got a sense of humor. So I am capable. I have the skills to achieve my goals, and I've developed new skills this week, and I'm sure you did as well. On Wednesday, we affirmed that we are flexible, that we adapt to changing conditions with ease. And of course, I mean, my life continually changes, and so does yours. Each and every one of us are living a unique moment. And so we adapt to these unique moments with ease. On Thursday, we pulled the I am approachable card. We affirmed that we are approachable and that our presence invites connection and trust. And we talked a little bit about how how when other people find us intimidating, that's a them thing, that's not an us thing. We don't walk around trying to be intimidating. I can actually only count one time in my life where I ever walked around with the intention to look intimidating, and I was in Panama City, Panama, and I had been dropped off at a place that I thought my hostel was located at, and it turns out that it was a hostile part of town. Definitely not the part of town that I wanted to be in. I tried to hail a cab to get on out of there, and cabs would not stop for me, and I was like, oh boy. This is bad news. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I am in a foreign country. I am in a bad part of town in a foreign country. I need to look like I'm not an approachable person. And so indeed I did. And people just kind of assumed that I must be insane, the insane gringo wandering around that part of town. And they didn't mess with me. And I'm grateful that they didn't. So I can only think of one time in my life where I wanted to be unapproachable. And every other time I've wanted to be approachable. Then, of course, that takes us to today's card, that we are elevated and we ascend toward our highest potential. Of course, we ascend toward our highest potential when we are approachable by other people, and when we are flexible in our ways, and when we are capable with our skills, and when we are peaceful with the outcome. Of course, how could we be anything except elevated and ascending toward our highest goals, which takes us to Saturday. And if you've ever seen this show ever before, even once, you know that Saturday is awesome, that on Saturday, which is a Sabbath in my world, we do awesome things. We hang out with awesome people in awesome places, eating awesome food. And on this awesome Saturday, we recognize our inherent value and worth. And I am honored to be actually hosting a renewal of vows for some wonderful, wonderful friends of mine. And we will recognize our inherent and worth on Saturday, on Awesome Saturday. It's going to be beautiful. So I'm super excited to be doing that. And that's our week. So we had an amazing week this week. I know that I had lots of personal growth, lots of really, really cool stuff happened to me this week, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. I'm sure that it happened to you as well. And I'd love to know in the comments about what kind of really fun stuff happened in your world. So I want to say thank you so much to Frank and Shauna and Lauren and Janet and Amanda and for coming by. I also want to say thank you so much. I see Easy, John L. Good morning, John L. It's wonderful to see you here today. Let's see here. It's I see Grant has also arrived. And every day here is awesome, Janet. You are absolutely correct. On Saturday and every day, you are awesome and magical person. In fact, I have to give you props because you are the person who introduced me to the concept of an I am card. I bought a set from the internet, and then I was like, I can do better, and so I did. So, anyways, and Shauna, you bring up a really interesting point right before we close. She says she's encountered some flack for her growth recently, and her challenge is to stay elevated rather than joining those folks in their muck. You're damn right. You're damn right. You have elevated yourself above that muck. But as my friend Dave says, some people just aren't happy until they aren't happy, and there's a lot of folks who really cannot do life except if they're miserable. It's like that's just their comfort zone. I've talked about it once. I'll talk about it again. The psychologist Gay Hendricks in his book The Big Leap talks about how we have an emotional comfort zone in which he equates to like a thermometer. And he says if we get too happy or if we get too sad, we will self-sabotage in order to get to the place where we prefer to be emotionally. And we can intentionally choose where we prefer to be emotionally. And I've watched it over and over and over again. Some people just prefer to live in a state of fear. They prefer to live in a state of anxiety. They prefer to be in a place that I absolutely don't want to be. And when we transcend this, when we decide that we are going to live a different way, those folks will do their absolute best to pull us to wherever they are, because our living in accordance with our truth is an affront to their existence. And so they will absolutely do that. So Shauna, you're doing fantastic, keeping yourself out of the muck of people who are living in a place that you have transcended, that you have passed. All right, my friends, I'm going to go off to the coffee shop and enjoy some more time with my real life friends. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate you. I love you. I just adore the fact that we get to come here and do this. Also, good morning, Donna. I see you popped onto the broadcast as well. You are also an amazing person. So let's all go forth and let's just bring our best selves to our lives today. I will talk to you all on Sunday at 9 p.m. We will be pulling more cards, more brand new ones, pulling more brand new cards, and coming up with even more nice things to say about ourselves. Until then, aloha from paradise.